The biggest thing I always ask myself is when the job comes up, is this going to take me closer to my intended goal? Because if it's not, the answer is easily a no. The money is one thing, but I don't care how much you're paying me. If it's going to take me so far off my track, there's no point to the money. Because how am I going to get back on track? But we don't stop enough and ask ourselves those questions.
Hey everybody, welcome to It Takes a Village. I'm your host, Delina Medhin, and this is the most personal I have ever been. It Takes a Village is a time capsule collection. 10 intimate episodes where I share with you the people that have guided almost every business decision I've made. In 2008, I began my career as a makeup artist, taking on clients in the evenings and weekends, trying to fit it around my 9-to-5 job. And in 2015, I made the I wish it was hard, but I was tired of working for somebody else decision to quit that corporate job, that corporate 6-figure job, and fully commit to being a self-employed entrepreneur. That's where the roller coaster of finances, belief in myself, and how much I was willing to endure for my dream was really put to the test. When we see social media, we always look at the end result. But this collection is a deep dive into the process. To my aspiring entrepreneurs, this is my open love letter to you. The most important thing I did was to get around like-minded people. People who believe in themselves have the ability to inspire you to believe more in yourself. My dream for you is to develop an unshakable belief in your own ability to win and to identify your own personal village so you can become. Let's get into it. Let's catch up about your trip. Like, where have you been? What have you been working on?
Well, I just came back from Atlanta.
Okay.
I was department head in a Jazz Man's Blues, and that's a new Tyler Perry feature, but it's a period feature. And I've had a lot of prosthetics. We've had so much stuff to do. We've got, there was a lot of different things involved, and it takes place in 1940, 47, and 87.
That's interesting.
So
You do a lot of period pieces.
Well, it seems like my career has been entrenched in period makeup because what I just finished, Genius Aretha, was also period. That was like 7 decades, the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
How big are your teams for things like this? Like, because you're department head when you work on these projects, right?
Yeah. And everything that I do, I'm either working as a personal or department head. I don't really do any background, or I don't come in and day play. I don't do any of that anymore. I can't. I just can't.
And there comes a time where you got to move on.
It's too hard for me physically, you know? So I do the department head where I do the research, put all the mood boards together, pull it all together, pull the team together, you know, delegate. So for this one, I've had as many as probably 20 makeup artists at a time, because we had some pretty large, some large group scenes where we had to make, you know, 1940s Chicago upscale club, where they had to look really beautiful, that type of thing. So that's really great. You know, Genius, some days we had, oh my God, some days I think we had 500, 600, 700, 800 people sometimes. We had large crowds
on set.
Yeah. And yeah, this was pre-COVID. Then we came back and had to work post-COVID with like 100 and something. But yeah, sometimes I had quite a large number on my team. Not as much. I mean, the largest I've ever had was a Malcolm X, where I had 50 people. Some days on Malcolm X, we had like 4,000 people.
Marietta, this is wild.
Yeah. You know, the Armory in Manhattan, the Armory in Harlem. That's where we were. So we had like 4,000 people. Yeah. I hired every available hairstylist on Broadway. Oh my God, because you know, Broadway have the bomb hairstylists. They can put on wigs that don't move, you know.
They know.
Yeah, they nail those wigs into your head and they come off a year later. But they know they're used to doing it, and they do it very, very quickly. And they're very well versed in the period. That's really the big thing for me. They're very well versed in the period. And I'm not to say that the other makeup hairstylists aren't, but they have a speed, they have you know, they just know what they're doing really well. And
right.
And I'm impressed with how they work. And I needed that for the show. I needed that for the show.
So how does it feel being a leader in film and TV? You've done mostly film.
Genius Aretha Confession was probably the first episodic that I had to run. My career has been really built in film. And to do 8 episodes of a limited series. You know, I would go in and I would do a pilot. The run of the series, I've never really done until Genius Aretha. And that was huge. That was really huge because sometimes we were shooting 3 and 4 episodes simultaneously. It was really tough.
Wow.
And then we add COVID in the mix, you know. So yeah. It was very different than what I am used to.
So we met through, well, okay, I shouldn't say like properly met. I mean, I was introduced to you, but it wasn't like a proper like meeting. But
Right.
I saw you at Crystal Wright had this PYP summit. It was the only one that she ever did that was in Connecticut. And when I saw that you were doing a TV film class and I wasn't able to take your class, but she had a couple mixers. And I remember everybody was raving about your class. They were like, "Ooh, I feel like I finally understand." I'm going to be able to figure this out. I had never like really hardcore focused on TV or film. Because I just, when I came to New York, originally I was into fashion, and I was like, you know, the worlds are so different. And then Crystal kind of was like, well, you kind of got to choose which lane you want to be in. So I didn't really know that much about the world, but I didn't realize how extensively different it is. So I'm trying to remember our first like conversation, and I want to say, oh, I started working with actresses and then they wanted me to do their TV stuff. And you and I was supposed to take a class from you. That's when we started
You
talking.
know what? I think we were conversing, I guess as the internet grew and the social media stuff grew. I think I was following you, your move to New York.
Oh,
And
wow, yeah.
yeah, I was following you, moved to New York. I thought, oh my God, that's so exciting. And where are you moving from? And then I think I was like, where are you from? I know I said, you've got Ethiopian, Eritrean, you've got something in you. I think it was all of that. I don't know if you had a blog. I don't know if it was, I think it was a video log or something. It was something you had, and I was following it. And I was fascinated by it. And
Really?
I think, yeah, and I think we started just kind of chatting back and forth without really getting into classes or anything. I think we started chatting back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until finally, I guess after your class with Crystal, I guess when Crystal became your mentor, I think she said reach out to me
Yes.
to help you with whatever you were thinking of doing in film. I think
Yes.
something to that effect, you know, something like that.
Yeah,
I
that
remember.
okay. So yeah, I had a YouTube channel that
Yes, right. I was watching. Right. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So I had a YouTube channel and I was like putting out videos pretty regularly. I didn't really realize at the time, I didn't know that you could do YouTube. You remember those worlds were so separate. It was you were on
right.
YouTube or you were a professional makeup artist. And
Right.
so I kind of said goodbye to YouTube because I really wanted to actually do makeup. And that was around the time in New York. So yeah, so we connected. I do remember that. So okay, so we
Yeah.
connected via, I do remember that we would message each other. I want to say I was interested in taking a class with you. I don't know why I never did. Well, partly you were, I think you told me you were like, Delina, you already know how to do this. You doing makeup on TV already. But then I was like, yeah, but I always loved the fundamentals. And you taught a class, like a fundamentals class on how to do makeup, from the color correction, also making sure people are matte. I remember you'd be like, they don't not making people matte on TV anymore. What's
I know
going
that was
on?
my big thing. Because I just can't stand that greasy look.
Yeah.
It's dewy in photo shoots, but it's greasy on film and television. I mean, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
So I remember you talking about that. And so we had connected, and then it turned into, I think one of the first conversations we had was about the union.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Because the union was such a mystery to me,
To most people.
to most people. It's just like it feels a little bit ambiguous, like it's this thing you should be in, but you don't know
You don't
about the
really
club.
know,
You
right?
know what door to knock on.
Yeah, and then like, how do I get in, and why am I getting in, and is it going to get me work, and what's it going to do for me, and all those things, until you realize that once you're freelancing, you don't have any insurance.
That part.
You don't have a pension plan. You don't have anything. It's great when you're 25, 35, 40 even, But then when you start to think about, oh, well, what's going to happen when I go over 40 and 50 and 60? What am I going to be doing? Where's my security? And I've been freelancing all this while, but I haven't been paying into Social Security because, hello, I get that whole check. I'm a 1099, not a W-2. So, and that's where I think we make the biggest mistake in our careers, by not putting those things in place.
Talk to me more about that, because I know you obviously have, you've been in the union for quite some time. Did you have that foresight when you first got in? Or do you feel like you're lucky that you kind of went that route and things just worked out the way they did?
When I got in, I dug more, I dug deeper, but I knew I needed something for quote unquote security for my future. So I was always thinking about my future, because I always knew it was like, what am I going to do as I get older? Because like for me, somebody like myself, I started a disability policy in 1984. You can't get the disability policy that I have now. You can't buy that today. You see, you can't qualify for it. So I started that in 1984.
Tell me more about this disability policy that you have that I need to have but can't get.
Well, it is because we stand on our feet. So we're considered cosmetologists. That's the category they lump us into. So because we stand on our feet, we're cosmetologists. Varicose veins, nobody wants to buy a claim. So you have to qualify. The older you get, and the more you're in the industry, the harder it becomes to qualify. So we don't think about this. We always think, oh, I'll put things in place when I get older. I'll put things in place when I make more money. But you have to look at what the future is going to be down the road. Because if you're just freelancing, you get sick, your career is over. And that's where the union comes into play. Because when you work, you're a W-2 employee. So there's money taken out for Social Security. There's money taken out for Medicare. If you don't set up yourself financially, what do you have to fall back on? And a lot of us put it off. Oh, I'll do it when I pay this bill off. Oh, I'll do it when I save a little bit more. Oh, I'll do it when I blah, 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 blah. And you never do it. And what happens is you wake up one morning and you're 60 years old and you realize that because you didn't pay the Social Security those last 20, 30 years, you have nothing coming in Social Security. You can't live off of $600 a month you collect from Social Security if you didn't never paid into it, you know?
So the disability insurance that you got then is something, basically what you're saying is you should get disability insurance when you're young.
When you're younger. When you're younger, you should have your disability. You should buy your term life that you could convert to whole life, because term life is less costly than whole life. But if you buy a convertible policy, if something happens to you, you don't have to requalify. Think about that. So you get the term life policies when you're younger, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, whatever. And then you buy them that are convertible.
I didn't know you could buy multiple term life policies.
Yes, you can.
I didn't realize that, because I have a term life policy that I just recently converted into whole life. And I remember,
how old are you?
Yeah, I'm 30. I'm about to be 35. I'm 34 right now.
Get a couple more.
Yeah.
Get a couple more. God put my son in my life for a reason.
You know, your son is the reason why I have a disability insurance.
Yes.
He called me because he said, my mom got this disability insurance. And let me tell you something, like, it's the best thing she's ever done. He was the reason why I got disability. I'm actually still with Northwestern because of him.
See? And that's the good thing. And the beautiful thing is that set up your IRA.
It did that too.
Because we only spend what we see.
Facts. If you don't see it, you don't even spend it.
So when they take that money out, and then you can, because we're taxed so high when we work, when you do that, Delina, $7,500 right away can go away, because I think that's the max you can put in for the year. You make it go away, and then you just deal with what's in front of you. Plus, you force yourself to save additionally, But I mean, these are things that are real. And even with having union insurance and having all of those things, you still have to qualify. So you still have to be working. And the pandemic, I think, was a rude awakening for a lot of people. There's so many of them that had nothing in place. I use Genius Aretha. Just take the money out. I don't want to see it. Just take it out. Take it all, take as much as you can out. Let me just live with what I have, But we tend to do it backwards. We tend to not put that energy into to saving. Oh, I'll save after I pay, but pay your bills still. I'm not telling you don't pay your bills. I'm not telling you to, but create a plan that allows you to pay down those credit cards, but you still gotta save, and that's the thing about being in the union. You have your insurance when you're working because you qualify based on the 798 is a little different than 706, but you qualify based off of, how you work. But then you have a pension plan. You have a whole pension plan that
Right.
allows you to think about your future. And we have to think about our future. So you combine that with your Social Security, then you have a more realistic picture of how you can live. Because this business, we create lifestyles. It allows us to create lifestyles. But we have to be realistic in how we put it all together, I think. And I think that that's a big part that's still missing from the industry, our ability to think about our future and put our future in proper perspective.
Can you expand on what you mean by lifestyles? What does that mean? We create lifestyles.
This business allows us to make, compared to a $12 or $15 minimum wage, anywhere from $8 to $15, right? It allows us to make 50 something bucks an hour, 20, 30 bucks an hour at the low end. Do you know what I mean? So it allows you to build a certain type of lifestyle, a certain type of comfort that the average person does not have.
Mm-hmm.
You can do a campaign and 10, 15, 20, 30, $40,000 off that campaign in one lump sum. That's not how the average person works.
Yeah.
I mean, the other day I made an overtime in 1 week. It was like $6,000.
Just in OT.
Just in OT. So, that allows you a lifestyle that's comfortable, that you don't have to stress over. And if those of us who put things in place when the pandemic happened, you didn't have to stress because you were still able to maintain that comfortable lifestyle.
Okay, so you've always been planning in the future. Was there anything about the craft itself that drew you to film? Because I feel like, the interesting thing for me is, I mean, I've always been attracted to people who are very passionate about what they do. And whenever I was talking to you, it wasn't just the business part, because I love talking about business with you. You were fascinated and inspired to teach other people how to also do the work itself too.
I think one of the biggest things for me is that there's a generation coming after me. There's several generations. And I think it's important for you to learn how to do it correctly. I'm selfless like that. I like passing on information because there's so many who are doing it incorrectly. And there's so many who feel if I give you the tools to work with, you're going to take my job. Well, you can never take my job. Because if you took it, it wasn't for me in the first place.
That part.
So you can't take what's for me. What's for me is already parceled out in the universe. So you can't take it from me. So I don't see why I can't share what I know with you so that you can do it better than I did. I think that's so important. My husband tells me all the time, I give too much information. I give you the tools for you to work with. What you do with it afterwards is up to you, but I give you the tools for you to work with. You can't say that I didn't prepare you. And then I try to help. And anybody who's working with me, I try to give them all the necessary tools, because I don't expect, if you're working with me, sometimes, I pull in people who don't have that experience. But I expect that you're willing and open to learning. Because if you're not open to learning, you'll never succeed. You'll always think you know it all. I'm always learning. I am a bookworm, and I'm always learning. I'm always researching. I'm always open to new things. And I mean, I find it fascinating. That's what keeps me young. That's what keeps me going.
Okay, so I feel like when we really connected, for me, it was when I reached out to you, and it was in 2019, 2018, 2019. Yeah. And I was like 2018. Yeah. And I had gotten a call to be a personal on a film. And I was so like, I don't know what to do. And then I knew who I needed to call. And I was like, I need to call Marietta. And I feel like did I call Crystal first? I probably called Crystal
I
first.
think you
She
called
was,
Crystal first. Yeah, I
and
think.
she said, you need to call Marietta so you can figure out what you need to do. I said, okay. So I was what you call a star request, where they ask for you to be part of the film, and then or the star request to have you on. And so you guided me through that entire process. I mean, from negotiation to what to make sure I had in my kit. And then I took your class, which I think was so helpful. You have this online program.
Mhm.
And specifically, I remember you asked me, I'm never going to forget this. You said, you know how to read a call sheet? I said, Marietta, I know how to read a call sheet. I'm out here. I work, and you were like, you know how to read a film call sheet? And I said, and you broke that call sheet down, and I said to myself, I was like, I am so happy that she insisted that I learn how to read a call sheet, because there is so much information on all of the documents that they give you. Just so much information. Like, I had no idea, and you broke it all down.
I remember that conversation with you. You were like, "Oh, I don't think I need that class. I don't need that class. I already know. I know how to read a call sheet. I understand continuity. I don't need. I don't think I need that class." And then you called me back. You said, "Oh, was I wrong?"
It's like,
You were like, "Oh my goodness, I didn't realize there was so much in there."
I mean, the amount of details that are in those call sheets, like, that helped me understand where everybody was, what everyone was doing, who I needed to talk to. I mean, there are so many gems that you gave me. Like, what do you think? Because I started to recommend it to a lot of people. I recommended it to a lot of people, saying like, hey, if you're trying to get into film, this is definitely something you need. By the way, after that, I was requested to do something else with her, which means I did a good enough job. You know what I mean?
Right,
Which means I
yeah,
did it well, because, but
yeah.
you had me like, make sure you have this for her and that for her, things I would have never even considered. Thank you.
That's the part of the industry that I love, is making sure that you're prepared, and that's the fun part for me. That's what I enjoy, making sure that people are prepared. I was fortunate to build a career, and people helped me along the way. And even though I've been burned so many times, and I've been stabbed in the back and the front and the top and every which way, I try to make sure that it doesn't stop me from helping somebody who genuinely deserves help.
That's a really good point, because I think people don't realize how much work it takes to consistently give and to do for other people.
It's draining.
It's draining.
It's draining.
You think it must come from your soul. Where do you think that desire comes from to help people, though?
My mother,
Yeah.
my mother. That's who she is. That's who she is. It's like, even now people miss her from New York, because they're coming up from the islands, and it's like, well, pass through 93rd Street, because she's always got food on the table. You need so and so, she's gonna help you. That's her nature. That is her nature, is helping people. And I think I picked that up. I struggled for a long time growing up, because my mom was a consummate housewife, that type of thing. And I thought, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. Until I wrestled with it my whole life. And until one day I sat down, I realized, well, why can't I do that and have the best of both worlds? But boy, that was my struggle. It's like, no, you're not branding me housewife. No, 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 no. But then when I realized that my ability to keep a house and to cook and surpass most of my friends, because they couldn't do any of that, and do laundry. Like, my white clothes are white.
Flex on them, Marietta. Let them know your white clothes are white.
They're white. They're not dingy gray, and I take a lot of pride in that, and keeping a house and putting food on the table and making it look artistic. And so it's it's all of that. So it's the best of both worlds. And I don't think we give credit enough to the Martha Stewarts of the world, because my mom was Martha Stewart before there was a Martha Stewart.
Can we talk about that? Because partnership is something which I feel like within our industry, you find a lot of people, especially, being a makeup artist, you're on the road a lot.
Yes.
A working makeup artist is out here, and like, in different places. You just came back from, being in Atlanta for months. Like how do you find a partner that understands that? Because you've been married for so many years, like being in like a relationship.
8 years from a blind date.
Wow. A blind date? Okay, hold on. Run it. Tell me the whole story. I want to know.
I mean, I literally was hand delivered to him as a blind date on his 37th birthday. I was hand delivered.
Really?
I was hand delivered as a birthday present.
Who hand delivered you?
Actually, her name is Andrea Miller, and she's a makeup artist in 798, and she wasn't in the union then. She worked as my intern in Malcolm X, and she had a lot of tenacity, which I admired and stuff. And I hired her as one of my 3 interns on that show. I had 3 interns in Malcolm X. And I wish we still could do that, because that's how people really learn, having that internship.
I didn't even know you could do interns in film.
I had 3 interns in Malcolm X, 3.
Wow.
And she was wonderful, and she's gone on to build a very, very successful career, very, very successful career in television. And she's who introduced us. And he's just a nice human being. He's a great human being. He's a wonderful human being, and we're truly partners. And I could not have built the career that I did without having somebody like him in my corner. Because you know what happens? There's a lot of successful Black women scare men off. It's the truth. Let's call it spade a spade. A lot of successful Black women scare men off, and I don't know why. It's like you speak your mind, or when you say something, whether you like or dislike, and you're the bitch or you're the this, you know what I mean? And it's that's just the reality of it. And I know I've got a very strong personality. I do. It could be diva, it could be bitch. It's I do. I speak my mind, and no apologies. And I needed somebody who could accept me for me. I didn't have to pretend to be the meek little shy girl. And I used to be shy years ago, and it left me, and I'm glad it did. And I just wanted somebody who wanted to have kids, and I didn't have to pretend to be anybody other than myself. And it was very tough to find. Very, very tough to find. And we met and we clicked. We have an island connection. He's Haitian, I'm Bajan. So we have a very strong island connection. So that was a commonality. And, being a blind date, especially back then, it was so wild. And we fell in love over the phone, because I had nothing to lose but be myself over the telephone. If it didn't work out, who cares? I would never see him anyway.
So it was okay. So the first date was blind date over the phone, or
Yes.
Blind date? Oh,
It was
a phone call.
We spoke for about a month before we even met in person.
Did you live in the same city?
Well, I've gone from LA to New York to do Malcolm X. He lived upstate. He lived in Buffalo. I don't know why the hell a Haitian landed up in Buffalo, New York. But he was in Buffalo, New York, which is just too damn cold for me. And then he came he said, I'm coming to the city. And he came into the city, and we physically met. She hand delivered him to me. And we went to dinner. And then she said, y'all are on your own, and left us. And we connected. We had the best time. And I'm a very real person. If this is going to work, I am moving to Niagara Falls.
I know that's right. Let them know up top.
Newlywed, nearly dead. There's nothing there for me.
You were like, you need to come where the sunshine is.
Yes.
Or no, this isn't going to work.
And
okay.
He said, no, it's time for a change. He said, I don't mind moving to LA. And he moved to LA.
Oh, wow.
Without hesitation.
Wait, how quickly after that did he move to LA?
Well, we met October, his birthday. His birthday is October 25th. We met, and he moved to LA the following March.
Wow. Okay. So it was pretty quick, within like 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
When you know.
Well, what happened is, and I'm not afraid to say this, when I went to Cairo, because I finished Malcolm X in Cairo, because I went to New York to do Malcolm X. So that was 6 months in New York, right?
Okay.
So in January, we wrapped New York and we flew to Cairo. And I bought the wedding bands in Cairo.
Wow. That is so cool.
Before I knew.
That's so cool.
I bought the wedding bands in Cairo, and I bought the wedding goblets in Cairo. I got a good deal on them when they were sterling silver.
So, the deal made sense. And then, then the actual wedding and marriage followed.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know if but my first conversations with him were, I don't know if this is gonna work, but I need somebody who's interested in getting married and having a family. If that's not what you're interested in, conversation's over. Have a nice life. Goodbye. Because I was tired. I said, I am too old to be playing games. And I think that was it. I was just to the point. And we clicked and we got along. And like I said, I didn't know if it was going to work or not, but I was willing to give it a shot. And I had a whole list when I met him. Over the phone, I asked him every question I wanted an answer to.
You had a list of questions?
I had a legal pad. A legal pad, not the regular, a legal.
With the questions written out?
Written out.
What? I love this so much. You're so type A. I love it. It's so great.
I made notes. I asked him every question I wanted an answer to. I sure did. I did not even, because I wanted to know if he wanted kids. It's like even with the island food and stuff. I mean, it's like, because even though we come from the Caribbean, we're like 3.5 hours apart flying, and totally different cultures. Very similar, but very different. So all of that came into play because I dated, American guys and stuff. And the cultural differences were so strong, and, there was no bending. So there was a lot of stuff involved for me that when I started to think of my future, I wanted to make sure that we could really connect, fruitcake and beer, fruitcake and rum, yeah, but not fruitcake and beer. So it's like, I mean, rice and peas,
She knows what she likes. I love it.
Yeah, codfish fritters.
With you, having this career where you're traveling a lot, like, what do you think is important for people who have that type of lifestyle in terms of maintaining a partnership? Like, do you think there are things that you did specifically to help maintain like the partnership and the romance and the relationship?
Honesty, communication. This job is a really tough job because you're asking somebody to give up themselves. I was gone for 5 months. My husband and son came out and saw me a couple of times, but it's not the type of thing that you can kind of fly home. You know what I mean? It's hard. It's very difficult. So you're asking, and what happens, one of the things that I have found, your life stops wherever it is when you go on location. Everybody else's life continues. So when I'm gone for 5 months, I'm 5 months behind when I come home, because whatever they keep doing. So I have to play catch up. And it's a very difficult lifestyle to ask somebody to be a part of. Everybody cannot deal or live with this lifestyle. It's not for everyone. Because, when I traveled with the baby, he traveled as the nanny initially and brought the baby to the set so I could nurse the baby.
Wow.
So at lunchtime, he would bring the baby so I could nurse him. So if he had the steady career, he couldn't do that. He had flexibility in his career to be able to do that because he gave up a lot so that we could stay as a family. And that's one of the things that people aren't willing to give up or sacrifice. Families don't survive in this business very often. It's a tough business on families. And if I'm in Timbuktu and you're in Alaska and the child is in LA, how the hell could you be a family? You just can't. So somebody's got to do the sacrificing and it's tough. And I tell people, if it's my 90 cents and his 10 cents, or his 90 cents and my 10 cents, it's still our dollar. And I dare anybody to come and tell us how to spend our dollar, because people like to say, oh, well, he's not working or you're not, and play judgment, but that's not their call. And you can't allow people to step into your life and create your life out of what they want. And it's a hard task. And I kudos to my husband every day for the sacrifices he made.
That's so beautiful.
So that we could be a family, because Gregoire couldn't be Gregoire without him. And we are so proud of the work we did on our son, because he's an exceptional human being. He's a good human being who cares about people. You can't get that if you're not present. So we made a pact when we got together that one of us will always be present, and we'll go no longer than 2 weeks without seeing each other. See how you got me crying?
I know, I'm emotional too. I was like, don't cry, Delina, while she's telling you.
I'm like, but you know, it's so hard. It's so hard. And people wonder why they don't have this in their life. But if you're not willing to give up anything, how are you gonna have? You have to be willing to give up something. You have to be. You know, I'm not saying compromise that which makes up you, but you've got to be willing to give of yourself in order to make a relationship work. Because it's hard in this business. This business is not conducive to family life at all. They don't care about you. They'll put somebody else in. So you have to know when to stop. And that's what I did. Look at me. Look at me.
Oh, Marietta. They're happy tears though.
Yeah, I know, because I'm passionate about what I do, but I'm also passionate about my family. My family means everything to me. If it is going to interfere in my family, I have to think twice about what I'm doing. It's as
I
simple as,
love that,
you know.
because that is such wisdom, especially for people who are just entering in the business, because I think the pandemic became a big reflection point for me, not because I think it was one of those moments where I realized when the business stops, right, when the jobs are not there, who really cares about you, right? Who are
Yeah.
the conversations you're having with? Like, are you having them with, the conversations I'm having are with my mom or with my sister or with, those are the conversations you're having. So it's like you start to realize the importance of family. And now, while things are kind of ramping back up, we're in this very interesting, place right now where it's kind of like ramping back up again. It's so interesting. It's like, are you going to choose what you need to choose for you? And like, are you going to be more stable, or are you going to jump at every opportunity you have? And I've noticed myself being more, no, I'm not doing that one. That one doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me. Okay, that works, but what is the rate? Does that make sense for me financially? Because you want to run fast in the beginning so you can pick up some momentum,
Right.
right? But then, this is just, I think it's really what I needed to hear, because I don't have a family of my own yet, but I feel like you're telling me at the right time. Like, this is it's just very beautiful, like to hear that your husband would travel with you. So and like you're nursing Gregoire, like right, like on set, the level of sacrifice. I don't even know men like that anymore, Marietta. Like, that is just,
You have to be willing to give up something. When I came to Florida, I didn't know I would move to Florida. When I came to Florida to do Cindy Crawford's makeup, that's when it's like I said to her, I said, I'm a brand new mom. My baby was 3 months old. I don't have a nanny. And Errol said, I'll come and I'll take care of the baby. And we came here and my makeup was here and my breast pump was here. And I would pump and I would put the milk in the fridge and then send it to the hotel by the Teamsters. And that's what it takes. And there's so many broken families in this industry because the industry does not care about family in that sense. It just doesn't. And I think the pandemic was a rude awakening for people because for the first time, they're eating at home together. They're doing things together. They're supermarket shopping. They're doing all the stuff together. And one of the things about me and keeping family together is when we're home, we try to eat breakfast together. Lunch sometimes might be on the run, but dinner's always together once we can do it. And that's a big, and then Sundays are always together. That's a big deal for us. We try really hard to maintain that. When they come on the road with me, we eat together. We're very, very tight family. And my mom, God rest bless her, because we kind of throw her in the car, take the wheelchair with us, and she goes right wherever we're going. We go to the sushi bar, she's right there with us. And we have 4 generations in this house, and it's about that, because what's the point? You make all the money in the world, and at the end of the day, you're lonely and you're miserable. And we've got a lot of that in this industry. You make all that money, in the words of Denzel Washington, there ain't no U-Haul behind a hearse.
mm.
So you got to stop and think about the things that are important. And I'm hoping the pandemic did that for some people. And the biggest thing I always ask myself is, when the job comes up, is this going to take me closer to my intended goal? Because if it's not, the answer is easily a no.
Yeah.
And the money is one thing, but I don't care how much you're paying me. If it's going to take me so far off my track, there's no point to the money. Because how am I going to get back on track? But we don't stop enough and ask ourselves those questions. Is this going to take me closer to my ultimate goal? And that should always be the question first before you say yes or before you say no.
That's so important. You've worked on some tremendous like films, like some really big I remember when we were talking about your career because you said you started as a personal, right? And then you moved into, could you speak a little bit to that process in terms of like starting in the industry and moving into that other space and becoming a department head?
Well, I actually started off with Natalie Cole, which put me into that personal entity, the late great Natalie Cole. And that really put me in a different
started. Okay. Yeah. So we started at the top. Got it.
After going to makeup school and learning how to do makeup for film, I met people along the way who were really instrumental in introducing me to people. So Robin Siegel, my BFF, she's my very dear friend. She was very, very instrumental. And I met her on the set of a Commodore's video and through my younger brother. And Robin hired me, and Robin introduced me to several people. So I had a chance to work as a day player, as an additional makeup artist. And from that, I did a few movies, and one of them was where I met Whoopi Goldberg. So Whoopi was the beginning of me being a personal for someone, because Whoopi requested me. Well, let me back up for a minute. Okay. After doing her Alibi, which is the show that got me into the union, after doing that, I met Whoopi on Clara's Heart, but I didn't do her makeup on Clara's Heart. I did the white woman's makeup on Clara's Heart. I did Kathleen Quinlan's makeup.
Okay.
I did her makeup and hair. And then I met Whoopi again on her Alibi, because her boyfriend at the time was shooting. He was a camera operator. So she was hanging out on the set. So then we would go shopping together. We would just, because I was the only Black person on her Alibi for crew.
Wow.
On a lot of those shows that I did initially, I was the only Black person on the crew initially.
That's wild.
Yeah. Not in the cast, but on the crew. And on her Alibi, I would hang out with Whoopi. And we, she has a love for antiquing, and so did I. And we developed a really beautiful relationship. And when I came back to LA, I called her one day, and she's like, I said, "Do you know who did it?" She said, "I don't even know anybody with that accent." He said, "And pick your bottom lip up off the floor." And she had something coming up, and I went and I did her for Comic Relief. And then I did for Comic Relief, and that was at I forgot where that was. We did Comic Relief in LA, and then we did it at the in New York. And then I got my first movie on my own without anybody helping me by sending my resume. So I got that.
Wow.
Because I was determined to build myself up. And I did affirmations all day long, every day. And I got that first movie. And then halfway through that movie, I got a call from Whoopi's secretary saying, "Whoopi would love for you to come to Alabama and do her makeup for The Long Walk Home." It was a movie with her and Sissy Spacek. And that was the beginning of me working as a personal. It was a wonderful experience. And I learned a lot along the way. I learned a lot along the way, and I learned what to do, what not to do. And then from that, before we would finish that show, she said, "I got another show coming up in LA. It's called Ghost." And we went on to do Ghost with her, and Baghdad Cafe with her, and a bunch of other Gap ad campaigns and stuff, and a bunch of different things I did with her, a bunch of different shows. I did with her as a personal.
So everyone understands. So personal makeup artist is you're working just with that one person on whatever the project is. Yeah. You're not responsible for anybody else. How did you know what?
I did her.
Mm-hmm.
That was my primary concern, but I also helped out in the department as a key.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I was personal to her, and I worked under Ben Nye Jr. as the key.
Oh, wow.
I worked a lot with Ben Nye Jr. Yes, he was also very instrumental in my career. I love
That
him
is
to
so
death. Yeah,
cool.
I love him to death. Yeah.
So when did you know it was time to make the switch from personal to department head, where you're responsible
I
for
always
everybody?
I always tried to do both. If I was working as a personal, I tried to department head the show too. There were times when I went in and I just like on strange days, I just did Angela Bassett on strange days. I didn't try to do anything else because I was big pregnant. On Dangerous Minds with Michelle Pfeiffer, I found out I was pregnant, but I was running the show. And then I went on to do Strange Days. So I always try to do with Samuel L. Jackson. I worked as his person. I did 10 movies with Sam, but I worked as just his personal on Sphere. I didn't do anybody else. I just did him. And I did hair and makeup for him. On the Red Violin in Montreal, I just did him. The Long Kiss Goodnight in Toronto, I just did him. So there were opportunities where I just did Sam by himself and stuff. And I didn't want to deal with, and in those circumstances, working out of the country, I couldn't do anybody else. I could only be with specifically for him.
Because of the production or because of what you wanted?
So in Canada, they have to prove that I'm not taking the job from anybody, especially in a union show. So I have to come in specifically just to do that. So you can't do anything else. You can only do that one person you come into the country to do.
Okay, understood.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I want to just say, I think that like one of the coolest things about you is I consider you to be one of my mentors for a lot of reasons. But I think it's because like, I think when people think makeup, right? They think makeup artist, they don't understand how many different lanes, different roads there are to go into. And film is a whole world on its own. It's its own, it's its own like country, out in makeup. It's like, there's like you're talking about getting the permission to work in a different country. It's like the different country where it's like, how do people decide who their mentor is in film? Like, how did you know, like you had these connections? Because for me, you're that person and you were introduced to me by Crystal, but how, like, you connected with all these amazing different people that were already in the film industry. How did you know? What was your connection to them like? Did you feel like an energy? Like, how did you know you could connect with them in that way and they could advise you?
Robin, that's interesting. Robin, who I tell you is my best friend, we did a lot of stuff together, and we decided to part ways in the sense that I wanted a career in film and she wanted a career in television, because television presents a lot more stability, and I think it's a personality thing. I was willing to jump over take that high leap, and there, and she wanted a more stable, more secure, this is what I'm doing, it's going to last 7 months. I mean, every 3-4 months I was out of a job. And matter of fact, we were talking about that today, because I think we're going to do an Instagram on how her impact on my career, and stuff, and how we parted, because she went on to do things like Dream On, which was episodics that lasted years. And from Dream On, she went on to do Friends, which was a sitcom that lasted years. You know what I mean? So that longevity comes with those shows.
Okay.
Film, you do it and it's done. But I never really had to look for work. I was always working. I always worked. I always worked, and part of it is affirmations, and the belief that the universe is stronger than we all are, and that this is what I'm destined to do, and this is what I'm aligned with. So I think it's part of that. But those people that helped me along the way, Ronnie Spector was a very integral part of my career. And we met when I was taking the union test. And it's as though we'd known each other for years, for decades. I mean, it was the biggest mistake when we met, because I told Whoopi Goldberg, who I was doing Ghost with at the time, I'm taking the makeup test with Ronnie Spector. Ronnie, the Ronettes from Phil Spector. That's who I thought it was. Oh boy. And I'll never forget it, when I went in and I said, oh my God, I'm so excited to meet you, and I said, Whoopi Goldberg's a big fan. She said, you got the wrong Ronnie, honey. I was like, oh my God, I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. She's like, she just happened to have the same name, but just a different person. But, I take my hat off to her and I take my hat off to Robin because they hired me not because of the color of my skin, but because of the quality of my work. Both of them are Jewish women. Um, and Ronnie and my work duplicate each other in film. And so if she couldn't do something, she would have me go in and do for her. So I mean, the reason I did Cindy Crawford was because of Ronnie. She's like, hey, Carter, because she calls me Carter. She said, hey, Carter, I need you to come down to Miami and do Cindy's makeup for me because I got to go back to LA and do Michelle Pfeiffer. And she'd done Michelle Pfeiffer for years. The reason I was able to work on Michelle Pfeiffer was because of her. Valley O'Reilly was another one who helped me. Jewish Canadian and I'm surrounded by, but this is funny because I told my husband when he met me that I'm an 88-year-old Jewish woman trapped in a young Black girl's body. I was surrounded by a lot of Jewish women. and Valley O'Reilly, who I met through Robin also, and she helped me a lot. I did a lot of videos and stuff with her. As a matter of fact, I met Michelle Pfeiffer through her originally, because I did a film with her, Michelle Pfeiffer, Holland Taylor, Hector Elizondo. I met all that on a film with Valley. And I did videos with her. The biggest photo shoot I did was with Ellen Barkin, was through Valley, and I give credit where credit is due. There's another young lady, Medusa, who doesn't speak to me, but I still have to give her credit for what she's done for my career. It's like, I did Clara's Heart through her Alibi, The Mighty Quinn in Jamaica, and all of those were in the beginning of my career. I did a lot of videos with her. It was her and Valley that worked together and they hired Robin and I. So I have to give credit where credit is due. I didn't do this on my own, you know. People helped me along the way, and I've chosen to help people along the way too.
I wasn't even thinking about this originally when I said I want to speak to Marietta. I was thinking more about our connection in terms of film, but now that I'm like sitting here talking to you, I'm realizing you established relationships, but you also encouraged me to also establish relationships as well. Like within, whether it's a relationship with your partner, you're just now telling me about like this story of how you met each other, but also that support. But it's like relationship with real relationships, strong, supportive relationships that have lasted, throughout years. And it's like, you're also doing the same thing where you're building relationships with, like you said, like you got some people coming into the industry now that are just trying to figure it out. And you're like, okay, how do I build relationships with them and support them so that they can get to where they want to go and figure out that, this industry is very scary. That's basically what I'm trying to say. It's very scary. And you can align yourself with who you think is a friend and is not a friend. I've been brought to tears before in terms of the way that I've been, treated, like, because of, I don't even know, because similar to you, I'm the same way. I'm like, I'm going to give you information, but I'm not the keeper of things. Like, I don't look at you and say, oh, you've got that, so I'm never going to get that. Or, to giving to you takes away from me. I wasn't raised like that. It's like, you have to be around people who encourage you to continue to live like that. You're encouraging me to continue to live like that, right? Because you'll see people who aren't quite so nice and they'll still do well. And sometimes that feeling is just like, so does integrity matter? Like,
right. I know, but you know what?
Is this thing on? You're like, right?
You know what I've learned? I've learned this business is all about relationships and your reputation. It's all about relation. It's built, because at the end of the day, we're all very similar artists. Some better than others, but we're all very similar. But it's the relationships that make the difference. It's the relationships that you build that get you rehired. That's what it comes down to. Because I rather have somebody around me who's fresh and new, who has a good attitude towards their work, than somebody around me who is supposedly top of the line in artistry and doesn't have a good attitude. It's all about relationships. When I pick up the phone and I say, hey, hi, Delina, it's off of the relationship that I've built with you, and it's off the relationship that I've built with the person I'm speaking to. And I pass that on. It's about relationships. Don't be fooled. That's what it's about. It's talent is just a quarter of what you're bringing to it. It's about the relationships, because at the end of the day, we're going to stick it out if you're a nice person. And that's what it comes down to. It's all about relationships and your reputation. Because if you don't have the right reputation and you're not good at building relationships, you have nothing in this industry. It's about your attitude. I read something and I pulled it up to save. It's about your attitude and not your aptitude that determines your altitude. Every day I will say that, because it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference how you process what I tell you and what I share with you. I could polish it better, but sometimes you don't learn from that. So I try to be as blunt as I possibly can. And one of the things that I tell people when they work with me, don't get offended by anything I say to you. As I feel it, it comes out, and it's not necessarily filtered. No apologies, but I will tell you the truth. If you don't want the truth, don't ask me, because I ain't good at fudging it. I ain't good at lying. That's not my thing. And it's all about your reputation. That's all you're left with at the end of the day. I don't care how good of a makeup artist you are. If your attitude sucks, I don't want you around me. So it's all about your attitude. It's all about your attitude. That's the legacy we leave, really.
Yeah, that's a legacy we leave. That's such a good, solid point. Sometimes it's like you don't know why you connect with certain people and you feel like it's one thing, but it's because of something completely different. But I agree with you. I'm the same way when it comes to relationships, in terms of, and I feel like thriving, I think, in the celebrity space, right? Whether you're doing film with them, whether you're doing commercials with them, campaigns with them, whatever it is, I didn't know, because when I first got into makeup, I was completely focused on doing fashion. And then I realized how transactional fashion was, right? I didn't see the same people. I didn't have creative input really. You assist for, I mean, fashion is brutal too, so it's, you work for years and years and years as an assistant. You don't have any thought or any, of your own, of how things are going to go. You're executing a vision that comes from the designer. You're trying to help them get to where they want to go with it. It's really interesting. But in terms of fashion, the way it was set up, you come in and you're working with different people each time. And what I didn't realize is I like working with the same people. I like knowing that your personality is something I can handle. I know what you like. Like, I'm to the point now with my clients where I can come up with different things that we want to do, and they're just, okay, sure, we'll do that. Yeah. Okay. Like, it's like that direction of being able to do that, but also the comfort of knowing that the relationship is solid, like you said, and you don't have to worry about the waviness of emotions and all of that stuff that can kind of come with, a little bit more.
I watch you. I watch you. You've been doing a lot of really wonderful collaborations and stuff, and I think that that's so great.
Thank you.
And I've never really been in the fashion world. I guess my career took off before I could get into that world.
I understand that. Yeah. And you were in LA too, right? So you were LA, and then when did you move to Florida?
I moved to Florida in 2004. I moved from Barbados, New York, LA, Florida. Well,
how long were you in New York?
Let me break. Barbados, okay. New York, Europe, LA, Florida.
Were you in New York for a while?
I was in New York 12 years.
Okay. Yeah, that's a minute.
I did school in New York. I went to LIU. I did my college in New York, and I did Hair Design Institute in New York. I got my cosmetology license in New York.
Got it. I don't know why I always imagine you more of an LA person.
I don't know why. I lived there 23 years, but
yeah,
but New York gave me my roots. New York gave me my stick-to-itiveness.
That's where your directness comes from.
Yes. New York gave me my stick-to-itiveness. New York gave me my, I guess, my tenacity, the fear, that fearlessness. That's from New York. You know, you don't get an answer on the front door, well, you go around to the back door. You don't get an answer in the back door, you break the side window.
Yes, that is very New York.
That's New York, and unapologetically so.
Do you think you have to be in a specific city in order to do a film? Because you're in Florida, but you travel now for work.
Yes. I moved to Florida because of aging parents and aging in-laws. But Florida does not have a film community. It's been trying since I've been here the whole time. I've been here several years. Yeah, but but when the governor stops all the incentives for film, when I moved here, they were starting to do stuff. I did one film in Florida, one. And I did Rita Wilson, Tom Hanks's wife. I did Rita Wilson's makeup for Old Dogs. And I did one Beach Bowl commercial with Jennifer Lopez and Nancy. Nancy used to be in Access Hollywood. I can't think of her last name. That was it. I never really did anything in film here. And what's done, most of it is done in Miami because Miami has its own little niche. So when things come into Florida, they come in keyed already. You have your department head and you have your key. A lot of times when they come in, they're picking up additional artists. So the artist community that's here are very tight knit. So when something comes in, it's like, if I get the call, I'm going to call you. If you get the call, you're going to call me. There's no room for anybody else to come in. So the work that I have gotten has been all outside of Florida. I mean, I did Sparkle. I did that in Detroit. I did Rebel. I went back to LA to do that. I did Whitney. I went back to LA to do that. I did Beaches. I went to Vancouver to do that. Genius Aretha. I went to Georgia to do that. The one I just finished, I went to Georgia to do, you know what I mean? They haven't been here in Florida. And if that's what's destined, that's what it is, you know.
By the time you moved to Florida, you were established enough, you had the relationships, but if somebody was interested in getting into film now, would you say go to LA or New York to start? Or would you say stay exactly where you are?
Go to Atlanta.
Really?
Go to Georgia. Georgia is the film capital of the world now.
I didn't know that.
54 productions were shooting in Georgia when I was there. No available trailers, no available makeup artists. My friend reached out to me because she needed 33 makeup artists to work background, and she could only find 30. I mean, finishing up my show, there was nobody available. I had to bring in 2 people from Orlando.
Production had to pay to bring them in.
They came in and worked as locals.
Wow. So Georgia is where it's at.
Georgia is the film hub of the United States now.
I had no idea. That's really good to know.
Yes.
That's really, really good to know. But yeah, but it is important to try and be local in where it's happening. So that's the goal. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's film is a tough career. It's a rewarding career, but it's a tough career. And it's not for everybody. Everybody cannot work inside a makeup trailer. Everybody cannot. There's some people who will do wonderful and great at doing background, and they're wonderful with it. There's some people who will work in the trailer as keys and as a third and a fourth, but everybody does not belong inside of a makeup trailer. It's a confined space with different personalities, and everybody can't fit into that because the weakest person in the trailer will bring the trailer down. And that's where it all happens. That's where we get those actors ready. That's where it should be their happy place. That's where they get into character. So if we're out of character, they can't get into character. So it's really important. Really, really important. I'm a storyteller. That's what I am. I bring the characters to life through storytelling in makeup. That's how I see myself. I'm not just the makeup artist. Makeup artists apply makeup. I'm a storyteller. When I read a script and I break that script down, for it to be believable, I have to go into the back of that character. I have to know where that character is coming from. I have to know what kind of life that character has lived in order for me to put the truth in film. And then I have to execute my work as though they've done it themselves. It can't look like it's been done by a makeup artist. It has to look. So I have to know who that character is inside, just like the actor does. As not, I'm just robotically applying makeup. I have to know, did the character drink? Did they smoke? Where did they live? What kind of education? What kind of family life? What kind of work they're doing? You know, what socioeconomic status are they currently at? What are their hobbies? All of that goes into my character to make it believable for you, the audience. So if I don't have that correct, the audience isn't going to get it correct. So I am a storyteller.
What do you think it takes for somebody to work? What kind of attributes do you think are required, not only just in your, because I would assume that it changes a little bit depending on who is the department head of whatever film it is, but what do you think are some core values, some core characteristics of a good makeup artist to fit into that makeup trailer?
When you come into that trailer, you have to be open. You have to be observant. Being observant is a very, very big part of being inside that trailer. You have to be able to read the room. Everybody can't read a room. You have to know when those actors come in, you've got to read what kind of temperament that actor is in so that you know, am I lighting a candle? Am I playing music? What kind of music am I playing? What kind of genre of music? You know, you've got to understand all of that. If you're working, you got to understand how a department head is thinking. All things that come from a department head might not come with an explanation. They might just come with an execution. So you can't take personal. It can't be personal. You might never be privy to the conversations that took place. You might just have to follow without getting an explanation. And a lot of times there is no explanation. You just got to do. When you get a show, you can run it however you want to.
Currently, you're on my show.
and you may not like what I say or how I do what I do, but you still have to respect me and follow what I delegate you to do. It is what it is. And if you don't like it, in the words of my dad, you can lump it. It's as simple as that. When you department head your own show, you can run it however the hell you want to run it. Because I talk out loud when I run a show. If you're working with me, you walk around with a book, a notebook, and a pen. Because it all comes from here, because I'm 3 steps ahead of you. So you got to be 6 steps ahead of me. Because I talk out loud and I say it, and that means whatever I've just said is out of my head. You better have it in a notebook. That's what it comes down.
You know what? I just had a flashback to when I called you and I was trying to figure out what I needed to do. And I can't remember where I was headed, but I feel like I had an event or something to go to. And you're like, no, I have some time. And so you were on my headphones, and I was literally typing in notes because you were talking so fast and I was trying to get everything you were saying. And I was literally in this car going down the West Side Highway, like, let me make sure I get it all. Okay, wait, so hold on. So I need to make sure I have, okay, wait, what was that list again? Because I knew as you were talking, it wasn't, like you said, it was from memory. And I was like, I got to catch it while she's in this space talking about what I need to get. Energetically, like you got to be around the kind of people that want to be around you. And they, like you said, you can feel respect. It's the way you speak. It's your body language. It's your interest in what I'm saying. It's the ability to be able to, and then also, like you said, communication. I love that you said that. Like, I am somebody who's talking. I have an operations manager who works with me. I call her my COO, and she and I work on a lot of projects together. And she knows I I mean, because we're doing this and it's like, it's on video, obviously I know to sit here, but when I'm talking, I am on the move. So even if we're doing a video call, I'm like, hey, yeah, so I was thinking about, and she's like, yeah, no problem. She knows I'm going to walk over here. I'm going to do this, but it's not, she is not like, why doesn't this girl sit down? She's just like, this is how she is. I'm like this, and we're going to get it done. And her name is Delina. She's helping me taking my business to the next level, because I feel that you have to align yourself with people who understand you. And similar to your partner, you said, I was looking for somebody who would accept me for who I am. And I feel it's the same way in work. You can accept me for who I am. I'm
That's
giving you
awesome.
100%.
That's awesome. I want to do something else with you. I really do, because
I do too.
I love doing film and stuff, but I'm also at the stage in my life, my career, where there are so many other things out there for me to do. It comes out from here. And if you're working with me, it's flat, I'm not a secret, I'm an open book. And I say it, and then once it comes out of here, it's done, because chances are I don't even remember it. That's why it's like you write it down, so that then we can go back over that. And that's one of the things, actually, when I started the show, I gave everybody a notebook. Because
stay ready. This information is coming in hot, so make sure you got your pens out.
I gave everybody a notebook, because that I realized that's how I think. I might walk through the trailer, and as I'm walking, I'm talking, but I might not be speaking to anybody specifically.
Oh my gosh, Marietta, I feel so seen right now. I'm the exact same way. That's funny. I've never been physically on set with you, so I didn't even know that, but I feel seen right now. Thank you. I'm the same way. My assistants are like, were you talking to me specifically when you said that?
Yeah.
I'm like, yes.
I didn't realize I did that until Genius. And Mylene was giving some of the other makeup artists like a tip on how to work with me. She says, get a pen, get a notebook, and follow her around, because she's talking, but then she's going to ask you what you just said. but that's true. That but when you do that, it all, or I will text you 300 texts in one day, because as I come across information, I'm sending it to you. I expect you to save it.
Put it somewhere so you can access it later.
I expect you to create some kind of spreadsheet, some kind of list, so it's accessible. And because I will tell you up front, I'm sending these things to you. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to tell you how to organize it, but I'm sending them to you. But then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, so let's go over the list. Well, what list? The one I've been sending you the last 5 hours.
The one in your phone, scroll up.
Yep, as like on the names and things like that. As I come across names, I send them to you. Boom, boom, boom. I send that type of thing. Yeah.
I love that so much. It's so beautiful. Marietta, you're the best. Thank you for doing this with me. This is so amazing. I'm just so grateful that I have somebody like you who is knowledgeable, but also just generous with your time. Like, even the way you are sitting here and so present and just like really here, it makes this conversation just feel so just beautiful. So I'm grateful for that.
You're so welcome. Thank
you for your guidance.
Of me. I really appreciate, and stuff. And we have to talk about what we can do together. I don't know what, but we have to talk
absolutely. And I also wanted you to share about your academy so that people can take some classes.
So my online classes at Marietta's mvma.education, because of the pandemic, so much has changed. So I had to get up to speed with a whole new way of doing time cards. Because, I sign off on time cards as the department head. I sign off on everything as the department head. But there's a whole different way of doing time cards. It was all paperless. Everything was paperless. And paperless in the sense that you're not scanning a time card. No, it's going into a system and approving time cards a different way. The petty cash was a little different. There's so many things that were so different, that because of the pandemic that we had to do.
Okay, so they can take classes. So the classes you have are up, but you still need to update a few of them.
I need to update a few things, and that there's so much there's so much to go in.
And that's part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast, because there are people that I know of that are really talented that I do want to make sure that people know, like know the names, have access to understand, because you can't know where you're going if you don't understand what the history of our industry is, who paved the way, right? Like you talking about how you were one of the only, if not the only crew member that was Black. You're the reason why I can work on a set right now, because you stayed for, because you said, okay, I'm going to stay here. We're going to be here. And then you started bringing more of us in as you could. Because, they were stopping that too. So it was like, they might just let you in, but then they're like, oh, wait, we can't have two of y'all in here. So, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's just so interesting though, when I see all these people doing all these different things and, they haven't had the experience yet, but they've become experts and people are listening to them though. People are listening to them. And people like myself, I don't have 10,000 followers. I don't have that. But that's because I've had a career in film, and a career in film doesn't build. It doesn't, my whole life stopped on Instagram the other day because there was no physical way for me to even do both. I just couldn't see how. It's like when I come home at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, all I want to do is sleep. I can't even think about anything else because I've been going for 16, 17 hours. I cannot think of anything else. I've been dealing with so many different personalities over the course of the day and making so many decisions. And I just want to sleep. I just want my mind to rest. I am not going to be doing an Instagram live telling you I just got home from a 16, 17 hour day or 104 hour week. I'm not going to be doing that. I am going to sleep. Because first of all, I am too giddy to make any kind of sense. I'm telling you, Delina, I got off the floor in the hotel and I couldn't find my room. That's because I was on the wrong floor.
Okay, that's where we're at.
Yeah. I didn't even know where the hell I was. I was so freaking tired. I was so tired. And that was returning to the hotel after a 3-day stint at another location. I was like, why can't I find my room? Where's my room? Oh, that's why I can't find. I'm on the 14th floor. I'm supposed to be on the 17th floor. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you, honey. That's
normal.
That was normal for me.
How do you ground yourself after being around all those personalities?
Shit.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, it just flew out.
Same.
I take a lot of crystals with me. I keep crystals by my bed head. I take a lot of sage with me. Okay.
That is a huge crystal. Is that sage?
Yes.
Okay. Got it. I get it. Okay.
That's the only way.
Got to. I'm asking because yeah.
And I read a lot of books from Unity School of Christianity, and they're great books. They're great. And I read my daily word every day to get me going and get through the negativity and stuff. And, and I talk to myself a lot.
What do you say? Affirmations?
Affirmations. I can do it. I'm like the little trainer. I think I can. I know I can. I know I can. And then, some days, in the words of my mother, and I'm gonna leave it on this one, I'm too old of a cat to be fucked by a kitten.
Okay, copy. Got it. Marietta, you're the best. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I'm so happy that I know you. It's such a blessing in my life. I appreciate you.
Some days I have to say that. because it's become to the point where I'm usually the oldest one in the area, in the trailer and the set. So it's just like, really? I don't think so.
I think that's the best way to end this conversation. You're not gonna play me. Don't even try. Thank you.
I love you.
I love you too.
Have
Thank you so much for everything.
And think about what we can do together. We have to collaborate on something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to It Takes a Village. Be sure to check out the show notes for more details on how to follow and connect with Marietta Carter-Narcisse. It Takes a Village was produced by Tanny Productions. The team includes Britt Robbins, Delisha Dixon, and Maria Verhel de Jos. Our theme music is by B. Nick. If you like this conversation, subscribe right now so you don't miss our next episode coming to you very soon. Follow us on Instagram at Delina Medhin Presents, where you'll see and hear more clips from the podcast that didn't make it into the episode. And follow me at Delina Medhin. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.